Good evening and welcome to the round 4 of Sunday Night League Formula X, where we are at Spa-Francorchamps for this evening's race. Before we go into the race though, we do have a number of announcements. We have got Digweed 85 will be replacing VRC Jim for the rest of the season, and Digital Blasphemy will be replacing OKC Ranger for the rest of the season at Mercedes. Mercedes are on their third driver in their car at the moment. Additionally, Little's GPs will not be able to join us racing in the Ferrari for this evening's race, as he is too preoccupied with press interviews and modelling for his upcoming 2022 calendar photo shoot. But nevertheless, I'm sure we'll have an exciting race ahead of us. Going into our fourth race, though, we'll have a look at the championship tables to see how they are faring after 3 races. Looking at the drivers' standings, we have Matt Psycho with his Aston Martin with 26 points, Little's GP in second with 23, SNL Jam in third with 20 points, along with Cthulhu and Intulio, all with the 20 points, Noxie in sixth with 18, Alexis Maximus in 7th with 15 points. Get that the right way around. Jacques Jajar with 12 points. Also VRC Jim with 12 points. In 8th, GT Racer, with 8 points in 10th. OKC Ranger. And I'm Stupid with 6 points in 11th. Tommy Paynes in 13th with 5 points. And GDE Trust in 14th with 4 points. We are also exercising a dropped score points, your worst 2 races, or the lowest amount of points rather, from your lowest points scoring 2 races are dropped from your total number at the end of the championship. This is just to cover anyone that may have not be able to participate in certain races, looking at you, Little GP, or anyone else that has a bit of an off or some sort of connection issue that does that. So, looking at the team standings at the moment, we have Ferrari in first with 99 points, Aston Martin in second with 85 points, Red Bull with 63 in third, followed very closely by Alpine with 61 points in fourth, McLaren in fifth with 54 points, Williams in sixth with 43, and Mercedes in seventh with 37 points. Our grid lineup for this evening is looking to be quite interesting. In first position, or first place on the grid, so pole, otherwise known, is GTE Trust in the Williams. Tommy Paynes will start on the grid in second. I'm Stupid in third. GT Racer in fourth. Jacques Jajar in fifth, Alexis Maximus in sixth, Noxie in seventh, Intulio in eighth, Cthulhu in ninth, SNL Jam starts in 10th, Matt Psycho starts in 11th, with Digweed 85 in 12th and Digital Blasphemy in 13th. So that is the starting grid as we go into round 4 of the Sunday Night League at Spa-Francorchamps. We have ahead of us some rather fine weather, 35 laps in total around this 4.3 mile circuit. Only 20 corners though. Only 20 corners, but certainly makes up for it in length. So let's take a look and see where we end with tonight's race. Lights out, away we go. Nice start from GD Trust. I spoke too soon. Unfortunately, GD Trust spins, gets a good start, but unfortunately spins and loses out there. A bit of carnage going into the first corner here. I am Stupid. It looked like we went into the inside. Let's take another look back at that. What an absolute carnage going into the first corner of lap 1. So GD Trust does get away, but spins and loses out. Jacques Jajar jumps up into first position. I am Stupid dives down the inside, it seems. Spins Jacques Jajar round. going into the side of the Alpine there, running quite wide. Jacques Jajar going in there. Alexis Maximus managing to keep away from the rest of the carnage, slipping down on the inside. Screwing past, saying, "Excuse me, thank you, coming through, bye." I'll leave you guys to settle this out yourselves. As the rest of the field has to slam the anchors on to try and avoid what on earth is going on as we just turn one. So Jacques Jajar having managing to utilise the poor start we had from GT Trust, now falling back to the back behind. So Alexis Maximus after turn one up into first place with Matt Psycho already up into second from the back of the grid. Being helped out quite substantially there by the fact that the front of the grid all decided to have a bit of a mare and taking each other out. Noxie up into third. Matt Psycho just going on the inside to go around the outside there. Noxie not managing to pull off that maneuver. Stays behind Matt Psycho with Digital Blasphemy in fourth. SNL Jam in fifth. GT Racer into sixth. Cthulhu fending off Jacques Jajar behind, who's managed to get back up to 8th position. Tommy Payne's in 9th. Digweed in 10th. And Tulio down in 11th, with GD Trust falling all the way back down to 12th after that unfortunate start. I am stupid all over the back, weaving, trying to get round GT Trust. So we'll jump back to the front. Alexis Maximus way out after clearing the field. Matt Psycho making very quick work of Noxie here, who seems to have fallen behind quite a bit. With each of the drivers now seem to spread out as we go through Pouhon. My apologies, not even Pouhon. We're already around the chicane. These Formula X cars are much quicker than the Porsche Cup we have in the Sunday Night League. So already after one lap, an immense amount of carnage and in multiple positions all over the place, chopping and changing. No surprises here though. Matt Psycho already up into the top. Alexis Maximus doing very well for the Mercedes at the moment. They'll be needing to get these points, as they're currently sitting bottom of the pack in terms of the constructors. So looking through the rest, Digital Blasphemy in fourth, SNL Jam in fifth, my apologies. Sixth we have GT Racer. Do we have any Digweed in the Red Bull there, just managing to keep Jacques Jajar behind? Will they get enough of a slipstream coming down the Kemmel Straight and coming up into Lecum? No, afraid not. Just not close enough. These cars do lose a lot of downforce as they approach the rear end of the following car. The car they're following, rather. Does lose out quite a bit, unfortunately. Ooh, getting a little bit of air there. Not quite the best line through that corner, but we do have Matt Psycho, who's gaining substantially on Alexis Maximus. It was only a matter of time before they caught up. He got lucky at the beginning of the race there, Alexis Maximus. But now Matt Psycho is on the prow. So Noxie back in third position. They seem to be in a bit of fresh air at the moment, with the two leaders falling away from them and the rest of the pack just behind. Digital Blasphemy doing very, very well in that Mercedes as well. So Mercedes looking like they got a good point haul after 2 laps here. We'll see if they can hold on to this. Still a number of laps left to go. We've already had quite the tear up of the starting grid. So all to play for at the moment. SNL Jam still in 5th, GT Racer in 6th. Digweed in 7th, hopefully taking less air through a number of the corners. With Jacques Jajar in 8th after being taken out quite considerably on that first corner. I'm not too sure whether the stewards are going to have another closer look as to what exactly went on there, or whether it will just be deemed as a racing incident. But Tommy Payne's very nice overtake there from Tommy Paynes in the Aston Martin, just round the outside of Jacques Chachard. Gets the job done well before Lecombe starts, but just goes a bit too quick, outbrakes themselves and loses the position all over again, giving it back to Jacques Chachard, who says thank you very much and continues on. So Tommy Paynes back down to 9th after that blinding overtake, going through the Kemmel Straight. Intulio in 10th at the moment, with I Am Stupid in 11th, Cthulhu in 12th, and GTE Trust in 13th, coming started at the front of the grid. So we'll see Matt Psycho on the back of Alexis Maximus as they go down Blanchemont. Will there be an overtake as they try and use this, not so much a long straight, but foot to the floor, rather long bend. Alexis Maximus covering the inside line there. Will Matt Psycho try and... No. Alexis Maximus covering the inside just before dipping back to the outside to make sure they get around the chicane. Doing very well to defend that position from Matt Psycho. Really making him work for it. They now coming up to La Source as they cross the start-finish line already on lap 4 of this 35-lap race. We'll just stay on board with these. Can Matt Psycho make a move coming up through a Rouge and then down the Kemmel Straight? Both drivers keeping it nice and tidy, although Alexis Maximus using a lot more of the curb through a Rouge than Matt Psycho was. So, got the slipstream. Alexis Maximus trying to break the slipstream as he goes to the outside line. Matt Psycho goes for the inside, manages it to make it stick. Does he? No, Alexis Maximus still on the inside. He's not letting him give this up. Matt Psycho taking the inside line there, now covers the inside here on going into the next series of corners as Alexis Maximus really fighting, wants that position back again. He's not getting away just so easy. Matt Psycho clips the curb on the inside, hitting one of the poles, and just gets a bit squirrely, but it looks like Alexis Maximus has done a very similar thing there and has lost quite a bit of, losing quite a lot of speed there as he goes wide through Pouhon. And now starting to fall away from Matt Psycho as Matt Psycho takes the lead on lap 4 at Spa. Alexis Maximus falling quite far behind. Certainly did very well to hold on to that position. Wasn't giving up too easily, but does now fall back into second after running a little bit wide through Pouhon and getting too squirrely, I think. Now, Noxie in 3rd place in the Williams. SNL Jam up into 4th position, was running in 5th, now working their way up into 4th, doing very well. Digital Blasphemy already up into 5th, following quite close behind SNL Jam, with Digweed in 6th. Tyres are looking okay across the board at the moment. GT Racer in 7th, Jacques Chachard in 8th, Tommy Paynes in 9th, Intulio in 10th, and again Cthulhu in 11th, I Am Stupid in 12th, and GD Trust in 13th. So just a recap on the tyre strategy for this evening. The Bridgestone teams, so that being Alpine, McLaren and Red Bull, the mandatory tyre for this evening is the soft compound tyre, and the alternative tyre for the Bridgestone teams is the medium. Whereas the Michelin teams, so that is Aston Martin, Ferrari, Mercedes and Williams, get to use the mandatory soft, but also get to use the advantage of the supers. So we'll see how it plays out between the two teams, how they're going to use the supers and the mediums. Will we see the Bridgestone teams trying to go for those longer distance runs between pits, making full use of those mediums, whereas the Michelin teams may be wanting to, throw the gauntlet down and get the fast pace, as much pace out of that car as possible on those supers. I think a lot of these teams, a lot of these drivers will be wanting to avoid. Let's just jump down the grid there. So we've got a 3-way battle at the moment. Oh, we had a 3-way battle for 9th position there. Digital Blasphemy just going a little bit too wide as Jacques Chachard takes it up into 7th with Intulio. Did I get that right? My apologies. Let's go and have a look back at that from the replay. So Digital Blasphemy following behind SNL Jam. Oh, gets just a little bit wide through Pooh on there at the moment. Spins it right around, hitting the inside. Then rejoins the track, losing a number of positions. Does very well to rejoin the track quite safely there. That drops them down into 8th position. They got Tommy Paines and Intulio behind them. And they go off again. Although it does look as though Tommy Paines does have a bit of an off and lets Intulio slip straight on through. Tommy Paines down into 10th behind Digital Blasphemy. So it seems they've also had an off. Yeah, they've gone off into the gravel. It seems they've had a bit of a sympathy spin following Digital Blasphemy. Just seems to run too wide, maybe late on the braking there. I'm not sure what's going on with Tommy Paines at the moment there, but rejoins the track in 10th position. So Matt Psycho currently with the best time of a 1:49.5. Just to give a comparison, the Porsche Cup Series was setting 2:18, while the fastest lap was a 2:17. So it just shows you how much quicker these Formula X cars are. Looking okay currently with the softs at the moment, but the pit lane here at Spa is an astronomically long amount of time. So drivers may be wanting to avoid going into those pits as much as possible. They're losing anything for about 30 seconds, I think, every time they pit, which will certainly put them behind. This may pay off for those with the medium compound tyre, because they can go those longer distances, really put those tyres to good use, and try and stay out of the pits and keep as much time on the track as possible and go those long distances. So on lap 6, we have Matt Psycho in first, the Lexus Maximus still in second, so no change there. Noxie in third as well. SNL Jam in fourth. Digweed in fifth. GT Racer in sixth, followed very closely by Jacques Jajar in the Ferrari. Intulio with their McLaren in eighth, and Digital Blasphemy in ninth. Tommy Paines in 10th. VRC Cthulhu in 11th. I'm Stupid in 12th as they come through Lacombe. GDE Trust in 13th. Just coming down the Kemmel Straight. Does set a best time through there. So best sector there for the Williams. Rumor has it in the pits that the Williams does seem to have a significant amount of power, maybe more than that of the other teams, which would certainly explain that purple sector through the third sector. So we're back on board with Matt Psycho. So we just go through Eau Rouge. So in cockpit view, very nice use of the whole track there, taking some of the curbs, going down Kemmel Straight at the moment. Will we see a purple sector? No, it goes a little bit slower than their best time as they pass through Lacombe. Hear those tyres squealing as they struggle for grip. These cars have got significant amounts more downforce than you're usually used to. So back with the Lexus Maximus, who it would seem Noxie does appear to be catching with them. You just see them in the background. Ooh, running a little bit wide. That's not going to help them. And that may be why Noxie is catching up. Enough of those, and you will start to lose a good amount of time. Now, looking down the grid, it seems that we've got a number of drivers. We've got Digweed, GT Racer, and Jacques Jajar, all vying for 5th place at the moment as they come through Pouhon. So the softs are starting to look a quarter worn. We could see some of the teams begin to pit. The GT Racer very kind to their tyres, actually. Not as much degradation going on there. And Jacques Jajar on the Supers. Interesting that same amount of tyre deg that Jacques Jajar has on those Supers as Digweed. Showing that maybe Jacques Jajar is quite kind on the tyres compared to Digweed. So Lexus Maximus into the pits. bringing Noxie into second position. So Alexis Maximus, first of the drivers to come into the pits. We'll see if any of the other drivers are beginning to pit this early. So, yes indeed, we have Digweed also coming into the pits. Matt Psycho staying out, clearly feeling quite confident with these softs, got enough of a life left in them. Probably going to run the fuel tank out and get as much distance out of these tyres as possible. I think the fuel tank here is maybe the limiting factor for how far they can go with each stint. But it does bring SNL Jam up into third position on the medium tyre there from the Alpine. Now, not a lot of wear on those tyres. Could SNL Jam come in for a bit of a quick splash and dash? Just filling up with fuel, doesn't need to worry about the tyres so much, which will certainly save them time in the pits. Or will they opt for the fresher set of tyres? Ooh, running a very wide line through Puon there. Almost thought they might come off, but they did very well to hold on to that. It just shows you the extraordinary amount of downforce these cars have. Let's take a look. We'll go further down the grid order as number of cars all beginning to bunch up coming through Puon at the moment. It's about 4 different cars, all equally spaced, but not too far away from each other. I'm certain that any of them jumping into the pits may... Ooh, do we see somebody coming into the pits there? One of the arrows disappeared from the map at the top there, so it looks like, yeah, SNL Jam into the pits. We'll see if they end up changing their tyres. We're not going to stay on board with this. It's an extremely long pit lane. They've recently increased the amount of time for whatever reason on GT Sports. So Jacques Jajar and GT Racer also into the pits. Matt Psycho staying out. Fuel light now kicking in. Number of other drivers. Intulio joining the pitting crew of those joining in. Probably enough time to stick a couple on at the moment. But Matt Psycho will definitely be into the pits. Will Noxie follow suit with the Williams? Their fuel light's not flashing yet, but their supers are looking quite dire at the moment. Just even more affirmed by a little bit of a squirrely back end they had at that moment, but they managed to hold on to it very nicely. So Petuli up into third position. Again, those softs rather are looking like they could do with some replacing anytime soon, but a number of these drivers do seem to prefer running along on the softs. They seem to kick in after a good amount of laps. Once they get about a quarter worn, it really starts to come alive. Alexis Maximus already up into fourth. They've thrown the supers on with just over half a tank of fuel there. So Matt Sykes into the pits. Let's have a look at SNL Jam, see what they went. So they've thrown some fresh softs on, interestingly, and they've gone for a full tank of fuel. Not quite what I was thinking they were doing, but we'll see how this plays out. Those softs certainly have the advantage that they do provide a lot more grip than the mediums, but they can't go for as long as distance. Noxie also joining Matt Psycho in the pits, with Cthulhu now coming up to the chicane. Will they also pit? Yes, they do indeed, which brings Alexis Maximus back into first place unless Matt Psycho can get out of the pits. So, will Matt Psycho get out the pits before Alexis Maximus? Oh, it's close. Just manages to get in front of Alexis Maximus coming through a Rouge, although Alexis Maximus on tyres are much warmed up and already set in, and he does have the advantage coming down the Camel Straight with that slipstream, tucking in behind Matt Psycho, goes for the outside line. Matt Psycho covering the inside, goes for the late break, does mean that Alexis Maximus has the inside line on the next corner, shoves Matt Psycho off just a little bit. Does give the position back though, so clearly aware that they may have gone a little bit too hard and a bit too aggressive there. Lets them back through. Does well not to lose too much distance, so keeping on the back of Matt Psycho. Really fighting for that first position. So clearly these two look like they might have more scuffles throughout the rest of this race, as opposed to what Matt Psycho's used to the last couple of races, where he's managed to play it quite safe and to have very good pitch strategies and keep ahead of the pack. But it does appear that Alexis Maximus may make him work for it as we go into the 10th lap of this 35-lap race. Looking back down the grid, we have Noxie still in third with the Williams, although they are followed very closely by Dish Blasphemy, so still doing very, very well with Mercedes in terms of points. Much needed at the moment. SNL Jam back in 5th position with Jacques Jajar in 6th. Number of drivers, I don't think any of them are yet to pit at the moment. Had a little bit of flickering around there with the grid order. It does look as though Matt Psycho has dropped Alexis Maximus a bit. Coming down the Kemmel Straight. Got a little bit of a gap to him now, but he's still within his sight, so he's not letting him get away too easily. Both the Mercedes and the Aston Martin on the same, have the same tyre compounds available to them, which are the softs and the super softs. Now, Matt Psycho's on the softs at the moment, with Alexis Maximus on the supers, having just set a 155, although Matt Psycho setting a 149 on the soft. So could it be that the upgrades they've made to the Aston Martin got enough of a weight reduction? There's not too much wear going on for those tires compared with the Mercedes, and they've got a bit of pace to them. So Alexis Maximus doesn't appear to be catching too much at the moment. He's keeping pace. Doesn't seem to be gaining him anytime soon. Right, what's happened here? The Williams seems to have gone off to the side. So we've got the Williams up ahead. I believe this could just be a blue flag at the moment, because SNL Jam is the car in front in 5th. Yeah, we've got a blue flag there for the Williams. Just waiting for Jacques Chart to catch up. Will the Williams move out the way? Does very nicely, moving out the way, getting off the racing line. Well done to that racer there. Now we've got Digweed 85 also coming up behind the Williams. The GT Racer following shortly behind. This could get a little bit complicated. That Williams is gonna have to stay off the racing line as they go through the chicane. Does so? No, it's nope. Yeah, they finally let them through the source. So I was starting to wonder whether that Williams was going to begin to hold up the rest of the rest of the drivers. So Digweed and GT Racer, and not let them through, but they do let them through. Doesn't seem to have held them up too much, but it does mean that after having to clear that traffic of that Williams, Jacques Jajar has opened up a bit of distance as they go down the Kemmel Straight between them and Digweed. Digweed setting a 152 last lap and a 151 from Jacques Jajar. So Jacques Jajar seems to be pulling away, but that could just be clearing that Williams out the way. Let's see what drivers have we got going through Pouhon at the moment. We got SNL Jam and Digital Blasphemy just fighting for position through Poo on there. I don't think we've lost any positions at the moment, but we've got SNL Jam up into 4th and Digital Blasphemy in 5th. No change at the front of the grid. Let's look a little bit further down the line, as yeah, indeed, we still have GT Racer right behind Digweed 85. Not close enough, unfortunately, I think, to really utilize that slipstreaming. Matt Psycho opening quite the gap to Alexis Maximus, just pulling away. I think this is where the experience is showing. So Digital Blasphemy into the pits. Experience showing through here as Noxie is catching up. So we got here 195. Now the Mercedes and the Williams seem to be level pegging in terms of the top speed. And you need to look at how quickly they can actually get up to that top speed to really get an idea of what modifications they've chosen here. As they come through onto Puom. So Digital Blasphemy, I think, still in the pits now, finally getting out. That's brought them down to 10th position as they come out of the pits, but they are on a full tank and with those softs, although being hounded at the moment by Tommy Paynes, the other Aston Martin driver. So the Aston Martins and Mercedes, both of the drivers seeming to having a bit of a fight between them. No, Digital Blasphemy just loses out on that position as Tommy Paynes holds that inside line and makes a stick. So despite the fact on the fresher tyres for Digital Blasphemy, Tommy Paynes manages to make it through. So he's got the lap hold softs there, doing very well and making a substantial amount of distance already between himself and Digital Blasphemy. Now Alexis Maximus really hammering those supers there. Already a quarter worn. Taking a look at Matt Psycho's softs. Doing quite well actually. Only about an 8th. And they've still got half a tank of fuel, setting a best sector already. So the last couple of laps, 149s. No sign of slowing down anytime soon, clearly. Alexis Maximus might not. I think the strategy of going for those supers and really committing and only putting as much fuel in as needed to last you those number of laps that the supers can last for. I'm not sure it's going to pay off on Spa, just because of how long this track is and how long that pit takes. You're losing about 30 seconds. That's a lot of distance the drivers can make up for. Whereas it seems Matt Psycho opting for the soft, trying to get as much mileage out of them as he can. Could be the strategy they're paying for. Noxie and the Williams just going a little bit wide there, getting a wheel on the gravel. They're looking nice and pretty with their relatively fresh supers. Explain why they are gaining quite substantially on the Mercedes of Alexis Maximus. Now Alexis Maximus will need to be coming into the pits on this lap here with the fuel light flashing, so that will let Noxie open up and jump all the way up into second, doing very, very well there for Noxie, having started in 7th at the beginning of this race, now up into second with SNL Jam. Also fresh air, so quite the gap we have between 1st, 2nd and 3rd at the moment, really opening up. Let's have a little bit of a look down the rest of the grid order, and we've got Digweed and GT Racer still stuck together. They've been together for the last few laps here, so quite evenly paced it seems, the McLaren and the Red Bull of Digweed and Jam respectively. Not sure if we're going to get any position change. Just seems to be a bit too far behind to make any use of the slipstream. And Cthulhu in 6th, so 4th and 6th at the moment for the Red Bulls. Seems like we do have a number. I think maybe it's just Ferrari. It could be that are the only team that has one car in. The rest of the team seem to have both cars in, so looking for a good amount of point calls. So Tullio at the moment, Alexis Maximus, after having pit, has come out in 8th, and Tullio in 9th, right behind them. But Alexis Maximus on the much fresher tyres does appear to be dropping them. Opting again for the supers with a whole tank, almost a whole tank of fuel. Not sure if that's going to pay off. Maybe it might suit their driving style a bit more with that added grip, but I think for the long run it might not work just as well. I'll be curious to see if any of the drivers are actually opting for the medium compounds and are trying to go for that low fuel save, that longer stint between pit lanes, because I think that may pay off. So we'll have a quick look down through the rest of the grid. I'm not sure. We've got Digweed 85 on the medium compound. Although they are, their front right's having a bit of a twitch. I can't quite decide where it's got on it. So coming in for the pits was Digweed, which brings the rest of the team up. Although we've got Alexis Maximus now right on the back of Jacques Jajar with their supers. Oh, just lights up the rear end a bit too much. Getting a bit too excited at how close they are, I think, behind Jacques Jajar. Loses quite a bit of speed, unfortunately, but they do manage just to keep it on the track as they go through Eau Rouge, taking some grass with them as they come down the Kemmel Straight. Now, I think this is close enough behind as they go two abreast into Lacombe. Alexis Maximus with the inside line makes the overtake. Oh, doesn't quite make the overtake stick before the thing. They still have to keep and hold that inside line, but they take that position and they move up into 6th as Jacques Jajar is left with 7th position, although they are now being attacked by it seems Intulio, who's taking full advantage of Alexis Maximus having overtaken. I think Intulio is probably they're both on the same set of tyres, so that McLaren looking a lot better through the corners than the Ferrari. And the Ferrari have really, unfortunately, sacrificed quite a bit on trying to get the drivers they've got in terms of paying all the tokens, and haven't been able to get as many modifications as other teams who have played that risk for going for those maybe new drivers or unknown drivers who are a bit cheaper on the market, but it does mean that they were able to get the modifications or utilize them more. Whereas the Ferraris, unfortunately, I don't think they've had as much success with that. They seem to be very hard on their tires and get a lot of degradation for them. We'll see. And unfortunately, with Little G's not being in the race, it does mean that Ferrari will probably fall back in the championship. They were running in 99 points in first, with Aston Martin with 85 points in second. So I think these points with Matt Psycho with their Aston Martin and the other Aston Martin of Tommy Payne's bring up an 11th, so just outside of the points. So Tommy Payne's can make up a number of positions, be a double points finish, and could get them just over the edge that they need to surpass Ferrari in terms of the championship tables. So Matt Psycho staying out, clearly just got enough fuel for one lap left, although those softs are looking pretty shabby. We'll want to come in and change them sometime soon. Quite consistent on the lap times though. Done a 150 compared to the 149 best at the moment. So only half a second off their pace with those very worn softs. SNL Jam running in third, now into the pits, as their fuel light is flickering at the moment. So Noxie's still out in second, doing very, very well in the Williams. The Williams maybe even might be able to leapfrog the McLaren. Could be quite tough. McLaren currently sitting fifth in the championship with 54 points, with Williams in sixth with 43. But both Williams doing all right at the moment. GT Races, Jacques Chachaz, SNL Jam, and Intulio all into the pits at the moment. Alexis Maximus again opting for those supers, up into fourth, along with Tulu in third, although Tulu will need to pit, judging by the state of those softs and the low amount of fuel they've got on board. Setting on 151, it's only about 2 seconds off pace, which around Spa and on 35 lap does add up to quite an amount. That's a good minute and a bit, excuse me, by the end of the race if you're 2 seconds off pace. If that math is correct, I'm sure the comment section will correct me on that. So, lap 18. Ooh, Matt Psycho apparently doing some gardening in his free time. No, you don't want reverse. You want first gear. Come on. Where are you going? There we go. Into the pits. No. Ooh. Just manages to get in the pits there without losing their front wing. Although they would have lost a significant amount of time with that mishap. Noxie also into the pits as well. So that's done some damage to the front left tyre and front wing of Matt Psycho's car. We'll see how long it takes for the damage to repair itself. I'm not sure. It seems to have repaired itself. With how long the pit lane is, it seems to have repaired itself in the time taken, which you may argue could be a bit unfair. Cthulhu also into the pits, meaning Alexis Maximus, who stays out. Will they get a hair out ahead of Matt Psycho? We had this before, and Matt Psycho managed to just exit ahead. Doesn't this time, still in the pits. But Noxie does come out in second, very close behind Alexis Maximus on another fresh set of tyres. Noxie having opted for the supers as well. As we go down the Kemmel Straight, sparks flying off the car there. So we've got Matt Psycho's finally come out of the pits. Probably wanting to make up for what on earth happened there going into that pit entry. I'm sure he had a few choice words to say about that, but good thing he's got that long pit to really stew going through that one. But does mean, unfortunately, Alexis Maximus has got the lead on him coming out of that pit. So Alexis Maximus on lap 19 leading. Noxie in second at the moment. Matt Psycho down in third. SNL Jam in fourth. Digital Blasphemy in fifth. Cthulhu in sixth. Being followed very closely at the moment by GT Racer in seventh. Digweed in eighth. And Tulio in ninth. With the Jacques Chachaz in 10th. Tommy Payne's now into the pits, dropping to 12th position as I Am Stupid takes 11th, crossing the start-finish line. We'll just see if they manage to keep hold of 11th. Oh, no, they run a bit wide, unfortunately. Get the back end out and spin the car right round. Having to do a three-point turn at the source. Tommy Payne's holding on to that 11th position. Did come out of the pits a bit before, so would have kept it anyway, I think, as they go into Eau Rouge. Unfortunately, that spin meant they held onto it. So currently, the battle for first place we have between Alexis Maximus, Noxie, and Matt Psycho. As we go through Eau Rouge, let's have a look on board with Matt Psycho. Are they within? No, they're just outside, unfortunately, of that slipstreaming, although we'll go on board, we'll see what their sectors are. So we've got a 33-second sector, another 33-second sector. Didn't quite see what Matt Psycho's sector was, but has managed to catch up with the back of Noxie there in the Williams. So maybe that Williams isn't the fastest in a straight line on the pit, as we're rumoured to have. All three cars in view shot there. We'll see how this one could play out. It's rather interesting given that Alexis Maximus, having pitted early, is on some slightly worn supers. Noxie on some brand new supers, and Matt Psycho on some brand new softs, but setting some slower lap times than before as we continue our way through Blanchemont. I'm not sure they're going to be overtaking anytime soon. They're just out of reach for any daring feats of bravery into the chicane. Not quite as close as I thought they were between Antulio and Digweed at the moment. So we'll jump back on with our leaders. Alexis Maximus covering that inside line through La Source, making sure that Noxie can't dive down the inside and take that, although each of the drivers getting closer and closer as these laps go on. Now on lap 21 of 35, there's not a lot left to go. We'll see. I just don't think they lose a lot of downforce in that trailing bad air, but Matt Psycho setting a purple sector there, clearly getting some benefit from that slipstream. Although I think that extra speed maybe caught him by surprise, having to slam the brakes on. Tries to go for the inside of Noxie, but Noxie shuts the door on him. He was a little bit too far back to try that move as well, but he thought he'd have a look in anyway. As we have a jump down the grid, not sure if these two are any closer. Unfortunately, we have to come back to them later. So these three still not letting it go, doing very well at the moment to keep this train going. We'll see if we've got, just checking, so SNL Jam still in fourth, Digital Blasphemy in fifth. No movement yet on the grid, on the position board, but Noxie does appear to be gaining on the back of Alexis Maximus. Did they go down? Oh no, they did look like they were going to try and go for the inside line. I think they were just a bit further back. Alexis Maximus unfortunately has come into the pits, so it gives that first place to Noxie. So less traffic for Matt Psycho to clear before getting back into first position. Noxie having set a 151.1, Matt Psycho having a 152.1.2, just a little bit slower than Noxie it seems. We've got SNL Jam planning a 152 on their outlap. Noxie tearing away from Matt Psycho, clearly being held back maybe by Alexis Maximus, giving it the full beans, opening that gap up, getting that purple sector as Matt Psycho goes a little bit slower, 3 of a second slower through the first sector. Now let's have a look down the rest of the grid order. Alexis Maximus comes out after pitting down in 7th. Again, opting for the supers. I'm not completely convinced that's maybe the best approach to take on here, but it does seem to be working and keeping them in the league with Matt Psycho. We'll have to see how many pits we've got left. Maybe a couple before the end of the race. So it depends on how they manage to slip them in there, see how we go. Now, looking down, we've got Digweed taking a bit of corner along the pole with them. Let's have a look. Alexis Maximus just coming up, really pushing the car, making full use of the track compared to GT Racer being a bit more conserved with their driving. Will we see any overtake in the next few minutes as we go back to the start-finish line? We've got Noxie crossing the finish line, start-finish with 150, but compared to Matt Psycho's 149, definitely gaining. There's 0.3 of a second between the pair of them, and I think Matt Psycho is within attacking range as we go through to Eau Rouge. There's another car up ahead that is getting the blue flag, so let's just go on board with Matt Psycho. Is he close enough to make any use of the slipstream? I don't think they are. No, fortunately it's a little bit. Does set a purple sector. Going through Lacombe. Does seem to be gaining a little bit there. Very late on the brakes compared with Noxie, but struggling to get that power down as those tyres were squealing. Really making full use of the curbs there. They can see the blue flags and being waved in the distance. They know there's traffic up ahead. I think Matt Psycho can only hope that the Noxie in front is going to be held up by that traffic. Not a lot of apexes being troubled here at the moment. I think Matt Psycho is trying to keep those tyres a bit alive and try and keep off the curbs. A whole 1.3 seconds slower than their fastest lap at the moment, which is clearly showing as Noxie. Not sure that we'll see any overtakes in the future. So we've got the Aston Martin, I think, up ahead was the one that is being blue flagged, so they're going to want to move out the way, particularly for their teammate. They do so indeed very nicely. Thank you very much, Tommy Twains. So not holding up the leaders too much, as they're now free and clear of the traffic. They've got a number of ahead. So, third position we have SNL Jam, seemingly out on the lonesome at the moment. So this will be a case of just trying to get that through to the finish, not to get any more upsets after the rather tumultuous first lap, where we had a number of cars go off and collide. So far nothing from the stewards on what resulted of that. Could just be put down to a racing incident. We will soon see how that reflects in the points, for the championship points later on. SNL Jam and Cthulhu doing very well in third and fourth, seeming not involved in any fray at the moment, can really focus on their driving. Digital Blasphemy in the Mercedes up to fifth position, with Alexis Maximus also in the Mercedes in sixth. Still a good points haul there for Mercedes, as we have GT Racer at the moment in seventh with the McLaren. Let's jump back to our leaders and see if Matt Psycho's managed to make any distance, gain any distance to the back of Noxie's car. Doesn't appear so. 150. Let's have a look at their lap times. Oh, Matt Psycho's really gaining at the moment now. Can he get through the chicane quicker than Noxie though? Don't quite think so. Noxie having just set a 150.4, and the Matt Psycho saying a 150.013. So 0.4 of a second in it, but Matt Psycho doesn't seem to be able to overtake, despite being faster lap for lap than Noxie. So I'm not entirely too sure what the play here is. Both drivers faring pretty well on their tyre degradation, even with Noxie on the supers and Matt Psycho on the soft. Digital Blasphemies into the pits. Relatively equal amounts of fuel on board, although Noxie does have that little bit more fuel. Could we see that Matt Psycho needs to pit before Noxie, which will give Noxie enough? I don't think there's enough for a lap to keep going. Maybe if they knock it back a couple on the fuel saving, they could just play the long game here. Although it looked like they had a bit of an off, which they're not going to want, as that'll Matt Psycho doing the same, kicking up a little bit of dust there. Turbulence not very kind to these cars at the moment. I'm sure some of the drivers are making excuses, although you never know. Will we see either of them? Nope, both stay out. Let's have a look down the rest of the grid. At the moment, everyone seems very equidistant across the track. Third and fourth are absolutely miles away from each other. So I'm not too sure how much. It really comes down to the pit lane, the pit strategy on this, I think. Just purely to the nature of how long Spa is. At 4.35 miles, it's quite a bit. So I'm surprised I don't think anyone's running on the mediums of those Michelin teams that had the option available to them. No, afraid not. We're going back on board with our leaders. Surprisingly, although that may be why, Matt Psycho just going a bit wide there in the distance. I was going to say, surprisingly, Matt Psycho's softs are looking just a tiny bit worse than the supers of Noxie. So Noxie is doing very well on tyre management at the moment. That's probably not helping. He's not going to be impressed with that performance. They're running quite a bit wide. This dirty air is probably really ruining those tyres and causing that further degradation. I wonder whether Matt Psycho is going to maybe come in for that early pit stop, despite not needing it, just to get himself some clean air and get away from the back end of Noxie. Really slamming the brakes on there. Just locking them up. Stays out for another lap. May have to pit. I don't think they've got enough left in them to see for the rest of for another lap after this one. So let's jump down the grid order. Lexus Maximus at the moment defending for 5th position against GT Racer, who's been following for some time, seems to have gained. SNL jam into the pits, by the way. Is GT Racer, I think, not quite close enough, and they're going to have to pit, unfortunately, whereas Alexis Maximus got enough fuel on board, so they don't need to be too troubled. There'll be a relief for them that GT Racer, now into the pits. So Matt Psycho, fuel light now flashing. Noxie's not just yet. I wonder, though, whether by the time we get to through Pouron and around onto Blanchimont, that could see that fuel light coming. I think I'm hoping that they can maybe eke another lap out of this before needing to pit, try and get as much distance whilst Matt Psycho's in the pits. Intulio also into the pits. So we'll just stay on board at the moment with Noxie. They've also got to keep those supers alive. Now they're starting to get down to that half-worn stage where the tyres start to fall off a cliff. So just keep an eye on. See what... nope, there we go. The fuel light. So there's only a lap left of fuel. Oh, doesn't want to take the risk there. Noxie comes into the pits. Matt Psycho into the pits as well. All to play for between the two of them. I think that was a bit touch and go there for Noxie, whether they could have stayed out or not, particularly with those tyres. I think they've made the right choice there, jumping into the pits. So third place, we have VRC Cthulhu, who did start in 4th, so has managed to gain 1 position. So they go a little bit wide there. They're going to need to come into the pits. Now, Alexis Maximus, once again, coming round... Blanchimont up to the chicane. I don't think they're going to get to overtake Matt Psycho in the pits. They're just that too far behind. They themselves may actually pit as well. No, they're going to stay out. So Lexus Maximus preliminary in 1st, but Matt Psycho now being released from the pit lane. Noxie jumps out in 1st. Matt Psycho coming out in second, and then we have Alexis Maximus in the background, just turning around the source to see the back end of Matt Psycho coming out of the pits as they go through to Eau Rouge. Now, there is, it seems, quite the gap between Matt Psycho and Noxie. We'll see if Noxie can do just as well as they did before to keep hold of that lead. They did an absolutely blind job in the last stint. We'll see if they can hold on to it this time round, as they've opted for the softs at the moment, with Matt Psycho opting for the supers. So a little switcheroo here, where previously we had Noxie on the supers and Matt Psycho on the softs. Ooh, Alexis Maximus going a bit off there. But they are going to have to pit, unfortunately, which means SNL Jam will jump up into third whilst Alexis Maximus is in the pits. Let's take a look around the rest of the order. So only 7 laps left of this race, and we have Noxie in first. Surprisingly, doing very, very well to fend off Matt Psycho. He's... as opposed to previous races, Matt Psycho having a comfortable lead. This race really being made to work for it from both Alexis Maximus and Noxie throughout this whole race. We may even see a different winner to the last few races today. So still all to play for with 7 laps left. We have Noxie in first, Matt Psycho in second, Alexis Maximus in third, SNL Jam in fourth, although Alexis Maximus just coming into the pits, so SNL Jam will jump up into third. Cthulhu in fifth, Digital Blasphemy in sixth, with Jacques Chachar in seventh, Digweed 85 in eighth, GT Racer in ninth, and Tulio in 10th, and Tommy Paynes in 11th. Tommy Paynes getting another blue flag. Now Alexis Maximus having to go into the pits does mean that they've left these two, first and second, off to their own devices. I'm wondering whether Matt Psycho, although very good on his tyres, whether he can keep these supers alive till the end of the race. Certainly got enough fuel on board, although going a bit wide like that is not going to be too kind to his tyres. Ideally, he wants to really use those supers and take advantage of the additional grip over the softs, overtake Noxie as quickly as possible, and try and sit and defend for the rest of the race. But it didn't come out of the pits as quickly as he'd hoped, meaning that there is a bit of a gap between him and Noxie that he now has to make up for. Although it does set a purple sector through there, so we'll just stay on board to see what they set. Although actually, let's jump down the rest of the grid order. We've got Digital Blasphemy, Digweed and Alexis Maximus all quite close together as they go on through Puon. I don't think we have any position changes there, so just Noxie coming across the line sets a 150.7 with Matt Psycho setting a 149.2, the fastest lap of the race. Really gaining on Noxie at the moment, coming through the source and heading up onto Eau Rouge. Is he close enough though, is the question. I think he may be, that he can overtake on the Kemmel Straight. Wasn't close enough before, may have to try and protect the inside. Noxie may need to try and protect the inside, doesn't need to. Ooh, some very late braking there from Matt Psycho. I think that caught him off guard from Noxie. Wasn't really paying attention, to maybe put off by getting that purple sector through the first sector. Noxie stays out in first, does very well to avoid a collision with Noxie, though, so very well done there. Gap has now closed down between the two of these, and we've got 5 laps left of this race. SNL Gem doing remarkably in third, has managed to hold on to this position through the majority of this race. SNL Jam at the moment currently in third place as well, so doing very well with the points. Don't quite think that Matt Psycho is close enough behind. Same with Digital Blasphemy, Alexis Maximus. Although Antulio has made up a few positions, was in 10th, now up into 8th. Let's take a look back at the leaders at the moment as they go through the chicane. So 150.7 there from Noxie and a 150.6 from Matt Psycho. After having set that 149, I think that little bit of a mishap on the end of the Kemmel Straight has lost him some speed, lost him some time rather. Just a little bit too far back. Let's jump down this leaderboard. I think we had a position change. So Jacques Jajar up into 9th. I think they did overtake Digweed. So let's have a look here. Running a little bit wide there, unfortunately, but manages to keep it on the track. Coming up behind Digweed. Digweed seems to have had an off there, so let's Digweed coming through the corner here. Yeah, just goes to put the power down, gets a wheel over, and spins the back end up, sending them off into the wall. They've now done a bit of damage to their front right and the bumper, which has allowed Jacques Jajar through. Let's jump back on board with our leaders. So 31 laps of 35, and we've got Noxie, who's led for a number of laps though. I'm not too sure how many, but doing just spectacularly well to hold off the likes of Matt Psycho, current championship winner. Just a comparison at the moment, Noxie is sitting down in 6th. I think these upgrades they've made over the last thing have really come to life at the moment and suited the driving style of Noxie quite well in that Williams. And this is it's an absolutely massive points haul for the Williams constructors, who are currently sat in 6th. As we come through Francorchamps. Excuse me. Ooh, a little bit too far back, I think, for Matt Psycho to make any change there. Seems to be a consistent thing here. I think that dirty air is really playing quite a significant factor between these two's rates, where Matt Psycho just isn't able to attack as much as he usually does, or rather defend, because of the disadvantages of that dirty air, just kicking up and really making those tyres work a bit harder. Not able to get as much downforce as usually does when sitting in fresh air, so can't make as many moves. So we'll just stay on board here with Matt Psycho, following down the back end of Noxie. Could we see an overtake as Matt Psycho goes for the inside line? Does very well to hold that position, though. Noxie maybe letting through a little bit there, wants to avoid thing, hasn't dropped too far back. Been doing very, very well. Oh, keeping on the back of Matt Psycho. Oh, so close here as the two of them coming up to Puom. With 3 laps left, Matt Psycho's only just managed to get into the lead. Noxie taking a bit of grass with them there at the moment. It was a great overtake from Matt Psycho, going off the Kemmel Straight into Lacombe. So after 32 laps, Matt Psycho's finally made it up into first place, with Noxie in second and SNL Jam in third. Noxie's still within earshot of Matt Psycho, who tyres are looking okay at the moment between the pair of them. Matt Psycho does have the additional grip from those supers, but those supers will diminish a lot more rapidly than the softs. could yet still see another position change. So we'll stay on board with these two. At the moment, Alexis Maximus was running up with the leaders at one point during this race. Now in 6th position, followed by behind their teammate Digital Blasphemy and Mercedes in 5th. Let's have another look a little bit further down the line. So we've got Jacques Jajar running very, very wide after having overtaken Digweed 85, although Digweed 85 does seem to have made a bit of a comeback and is tailing Jacques Jajar quite nicely. I mean, gonna help them with Jacques Jajar having those few offs. They're now coming up to the Blanchimont long corner. It's not quite as straight, is it? Dives out of the dirty air, does Digweed 85 to try and take that position from Jacques Jajar. Goes around the outside, makes it stick. Very nice overtake there from Digweed 85. Very clean racing between these two. Although he's not out of the fire yet, with Jacques Jajar all over the back of him, does mean that if Jacques Jajar can keep on the back of Digweed 85 through the La Source and up through a Rouge, they can do exactly the same maneuver on Digweed down the Kemmel Straight. Might just be a little bit too far back. Yeah, look at that. Digweed is absolutely firing away, putting plenty of distance between the two. It seems even on the straight, those Ferraris are really struggling for the grip. So let's jump back on board with our leaders. Matt Psycho still in the lead on lap 34, although Noxie also passing through Rouge, quick behind. Matt Psycho's burnt quite a bit of his supers off, down to a quarter worn. Will the grip hold up on these last couple of laps? Noxie having done very, very well the whole way through this race. Pair of them are now passing through Brussels and then up into Huon. Let's jump back to the start finish. No position changes here between Digital Blasphemy or Alexis Maximus. At the moment, Alexis Maximus is in the lead in terms of the championship points, with Digital Blasphemy being a new racer. Surprised there aren't any team orders for the two of them to switch positions. Really keep Alexis Maximus's championship hopes alive. Currently on 15 points in the championship. Not too far behind that of Noxie, although Noxie, if they keep this up, is in for an absolutely massive haul of points as Matt Psycho crosses the start-finish line, and we're on to our last lap of the race, although his tyres, his supers, are looking mighty worse for wear. Whereas Noxie's softs are looking still like they got a bit more life in them. We'll see if Matt Psycho can keep this this first place, as he sets a 149.7 compared to Noxie's 149.8. Noxie setting best sector 1 there. Might even be in for a fastest lap on this last lap of the race. So we'll stay on board with the race leaders. Matt Psycho just really trying to hold on here. Only a few more corners left as they go through Huon. 20 corners in total on this track, but it's 4.3 miles. It's one of the longest circuits in the GT Sport library. These tyres are looking absolutely tragic at the moment. As we come onto the Blanchimont, is Noxie close enough? Let's go on board with Noxie at the moment. Any feats of daring as we come up to the chicane? Oh, I just don't think he's close enough to be able to make a move. So close as they come up behind the start finish. Matt Psycho already going for the celebrations as he finishes first. What a great race between Noxie and Matt Psycho the whole way through there for that last half of that race. The pair of them doing very well. Noxie did a fantastic to keep Matt Psycho behind him up until the last two laps of this race. SNL Jam coming in third. Be very pleased with that position. Cthulhu up into fourth. Doing very, very, very well. Currently sit fourth in the championship, interestingly as well. So SNL Jam just stays ahead. They were on 20 points apiece going into this race. But SNL Jam will just get the few extra points more than Cthulhu to keep them just ahead. So Alexis Maximus did seem to have been let through by Digital Blasphemy, their teammate. That'll be good for their points and keeping their championship alive. Digital Blasphemy coming in sixth. Great first race for them. GT Racer in seventh. Coming around the corner there, we'll just see Intilio as they come into eighth. With Digweed, another new racer to the Racing League. Now coming up into the chicane. Got yellow flags, it seems. Be Tommy Payne's maybe having a little bit of an off there. So Digital Digweed, sorry, comes in. Oh, did I pause it in time? I don't think I did. Curses. Did that deliberately, even hesitated. So 2 seconds as we try and load that one back up again. I'll jump to the calendar. See what races we have up in the rest of our Formula X series. So next week, which is the 9th of May, we have round 5, which is at the Tokyo South Inner Loop. Looking to be some great weather and a somewhat very different track compared to the Spa track that we were just at. It's mostly made up of, I believe, a number of motorways around Tokyo, but also some dock sides. Right, back again. We'll just wait for this standing. So after the somewhat chaotic, I would say, first lap, first corner of this race, we do have a winner, although they had to work for it. SNL Jam here clearly having paid for more airtime. I'm sure his sponsors will be very happy with this. Pause it. Oh, almost. So let's go back and see how did this race finish up. With the fastest lap, quite interesting rather, is Cthulhu, setting a 149.1, narrowly beating Matt Psycho with his 149.2. Although Matt Psycho did take first place once again, having to have worked for it the whole way through this race. Doing very, very well to stop him, though, was Noxie, who ended up finishing in second. We're very pleased with those set of points there. Did a fantastic drive from Noxie. In third, we have SNL Jam, followed by Cthulhu in fourth, Alexis Maximus in fifth, Digital Blasphemy in sixth. Seventh, we have GT Racer with Intulio in eighth. Ninth, Didweed 85, Jack Jajar in 10th, and Tommy Paynes in 11th. Thank you all very much for watching. We will see you next week for the Sunday Night League Formula X race at Tokyo South Inner Loop. Thank you once again for for you for watching and for our drivers for racing. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.